Hi, it's Gary, and welcome back once again to The Power is You. You know, I've made a lot of these videos, and each time I open the video, I emphasize that the power is you. But I think today what I'd like to do is talk a little bit more about that and how you can make a difference. One of the things I've often said to myself is, I'm one person. I can't change the world by myself, but I can change that small part of the world that I have influence in. Now, does that change the big picture? No, not really, but it does on the little level. And realistically, if I were to say to you that you could do the same thing, how would you feel about that? So here's what I'm thinking. Today, I want to talk about how you can make a difference, especially in a world that is so caught up in anger, hatred, hostility, a world that seems to focus more on the negative and the things that make us separate and different than what actually brings us together. As an example, you, I, and everyone who watches this video have many things in common, more so than it would look like if we looked at our backgrounds, where we lived, schooling we went to, the families we were raised in, what have you. What do we have that's all common to not just you and I, but to humanity in general? We all have thoughts, we all have feelings, we all want health, happiness. We want to pursue those things that are most important to us, to provide for our friends, for our family, for our own enjoyment, as well as the betterment of others. So what I'm going to say to you today is, let's change the focus. Rather than thinking you're powerless and you can't do anything about changing the world, I'm going to ask you to try by just being a little bit nicer first to yourself. Why? Because if you're nicer to you, you're going to feel more comfortable giving to someone else. But how do you do that? Okay, well, the first thing you do is recognize that you're doing the best you can. That even in your worst moment, you did the best you could in that worst moment. That doesn't mean that you're bad. That doesn't mean you can't do better. It simply means for that one moment, that was it. That's all you could do. Yet, if you looked at it later that day, next day, a week later, given a similar situation or even the same type situation, you could perform better because you're more aware, because you said, I'm not in that space that I was in. So what I'm asking you to do first and foremost is be nice to yourself, to cut yourself a break, because nobody can be more critical and more destructive to ourselves than us. Okay? So that's the first premise. The second premise is, like I said earlier, looking at the world situation. If you read the newspapers, listen to news, there's not a hell of a lot of good stuff. And the good stuff usually gets pushed down to the bottom. It's more about hatred. It's more about war. It's more about anger, dissension, polarization. But where we can change the world is like this. Initially, we're being nicer to ourselves. But now we're going to reach out and be nicer to other people. And by that, I mean simply help to make someone else have a good day. Not by anything involved and complicated, but simple things. Hold the door open for somebody. Smile. Compliment someone. Do them a little favor if it works for you, if it's something you can do. Anything that you can do that makes another person say, oh wow, I didn't expect that, or wow, that made me feel better. Even though it doesn't have to be your intent, meaning intellectually. But if it's coming from here, then it comes out naturally. And you would be surprised what happens. In fact, I shouldn't say you're surprised, you know what happens. There's some times when that person's going to be like, oh, thank you. And you get that good feeling in you. Okay? So here's the deal. When you're nice to yourself first, you have more to give to others. When you're nice to someone else, that giving comes back to you, not always in the same way or fashion, but often more than you might expect. Now, let's pretend you're watching this video, and with you, in different locations, another 100 people. We'll just use an arbitrary number. Those people are hearing the same message. Now, if each one of these 100 people were to do something nice for somebody else, what would happen? Well, right off the bat, it would raise the energy of the interaction between those two people. But of the 100 people doing this, it would raise the energy of the 100 people involved. Okay? Now, if you take that same concept and you work on it, say, well, what if 1,000 people saw this? Or 100,000 people saw this? Well, that same good energy just gets multiplied over and over and over again. And the reality, at least in the way I see the world, is this. The world does not change from the top down. It honestly and truly changes from the bottom up. If we're the bottom, meaning we're the base, and we start creating an energy field because of our kindness and good deeds that helps to lift others, and that keeps spreading out, eventually that energy is going to grow so strongly that it reaches up to the top and creates the change we've been looking for. I grant you, it's not a quick thing. It would take time, it would take many people, but we can never get anything accomplished if we don't start from here. So, what is it that makes you feel good? What is it that makes you feel like I'm making a difference? Is it just the simple action of opening a door, helping somebody with their packages, serving at a homeless shelter, or any form of charity work? Is it just kind of smiling when you see somebody on the street? Or is it stopping to listen to somebody who wanted to tell you something and just listening with an open heart, an open mind? And of course, obviously, there's so many variations of this. But I believe, at the very least, if you do even a small portion of what I'm asking or what I'm suggesting, you're going to feel better about yourself, and you're going to see how your actions can make a difference. And at these times of, people feeling like the world's moving too fast, I feel lost, I feel isolated, I feel alone. By beginning to create a sense of connection, which could eventually build into a sense of community, you and I and all those who watch this video can actually begin to make the changes in the world we want to be. It was once said that if you want to change the world, the best way to do it is to be the change you want to be. It's not the exact quote, but it's the principle of it. So I offer this to you today as an encouragement, a gentle push, if you will. If this works for you and you feel good about it, take my thoughts and do what you want with them. And if you can help make the world a little bit nicer through the efforts that you show by giving more acceptance to yourself and to others, you truly have changed the world. And that takes you out of a state of powerlessness, feeling like the world is too big for you to handle, and gives you some power back to say, yeah, I can make a difference. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a difference. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening. And once again, remember, the power truly is you. Have a great day.